Today is May 13th, 2014. 2014. Yes, we're in 2014.
2014.
You're listening to I Think You Think. I'm Justin. Way over there, Mr. Sicky is... There you go. This is...
Sequoia.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean that. I don't feel well.
That whole grumpy thing?
Don't worry, I've got censor bars now.
Good. Did
you see that?
No.
No, okay. All right. Anyway, we're your hosts. We carry no credentials worth noting. We are a weekly topical podcast that focuses on what we think and hopefully what you think. If you want to be involved, please let us know by emailing us and checking out our website, ithinkyoutthink.com. You can see our Facebook and links to everything and all that type of fun stuff. All of those things are linked in the underbar of the video. They are also linked in the information on the Libsyn page and all that kind of stuff. But we are produced by StolenArts Productions. Please follow us on Twitter and Facebook. I don't know why, because I was reading sentences backwards. Sorry about that. Music you hear at the beginning is Alex and the Anders. Thank you, Alex, Tom, Blake, and Tucker for wonderful music. Sounds great and keeps us entertained. StravaMax.com, the young lady that made all of our graphics, makes jewelry over there. Check out the website and see if you see anything you like. I would say Mother's Day is coming up, but it is actually past in this case. But when we're recording it, it's still coming up. So there you go. Please like and share the podcast and the vidcast and all that kind of stuff. We are talking about the big one. Star Wars versus Star Trek. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about what's been going on in our last week that we've been together. I Drink, You Drink was last week. Technically, it's 2 weeks ago, blah, blah, blah. But what has been going on in everybody's life? James... Get it over with.
Up until today, I felt fine, and today I feel like hell.
And yet, he's podcasting with us.
Yep.
What a hero.
Check my phone. Go on your merry way.
Can we get him, so grumpy, sleepy,
maybe it's the
happy
cure to my illness.
Sequoia, what has been going on in your life?
At this point when this airs, I will be in the middle of actually taking all my finals. I got one final done this week. I've got papers and presentations, and I'm actually having one of my teachers is submitting one of my papers to an anthology.
Cool.
To possibly be published. So I'm working on...
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So I'm working on revisions, and I have a cake project. I decided to do a creative project that's a cake, because that's the only way I'm creative. So I'm sort of wanting to I'm so stupid. I don't know why I decided to take such a laborious project under the week of finals. So I'm crazy busy, but I'm having a really good week. So it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got my fancy new computer, which will have been set up by now. So that's great. I fixed my son's computer because he thought it was a brilliant idea to run a really not a huge program, but a very labor-intensive program on his processor while he set it on a pillow and didn't let it breathe.
Oh, gosh.
And so he fried his fan. So I fixed his fan. I'm pretty proud of myself for that because I don't do that. I am in the middle of an 11-day stretch at work right now. It will have already passed by the time this airs. And because my boss is on vacation, so I am running the store again this year. This is his second vacation this year. What a lucky dog.
So between your work anger and his just grumpy aura that's radiating this way, I feel like I'm in a very precarious situation. I know, I feel like I'm in a very precarious situation right now.
I feel like we should talk about the Westboro Baptist Church.
We could really bring out James, full anger.
Nobody wants that.
I mean, you're already wearing green, so.
It's true. I'm hungry.
All right, so...
I don't feel well. We're having a pointless argument today. Star Trek versus Star Wars.
I was like, what's argument?
It's
Okay, so let's get this started. Star Wars versus Star Trek.
My perspective. Go ahead.
Yes. So Star Wars versus Star Trek, the ancient battle. It's like DC versus Marvel. You know, it's like which is better, which could win in a fight, which has got better writing, you know, which has more movies, which obviously Star Trek wins. But more does not always mean necessarily better. However, you know, Star Wars, first 3 episodes, terrible. Anyway, moving on. So, where does everybody fall on the spectrum of Star Trek Star Wars? Sequoia.
I mean, as much as possible, I'm sort of in the middle, actually, because I like Star Trek a lot. Like, I grew up watching Star Trek, but I haven't really seen as much of Star Trek as I feel like I should have. I've actually not seen the first movie. I've only seen the second one. Even though I have the first movie, I just haven't watched it yet.
Are we just talking about the re-release?
Yes. Yes, just the re-release.
There's a
new
lot
ones.
of
No,
other...
I know. I haven't seen any of the, like, I've... Take a deep breath, James. It's going to be okay.
Okay.
Casual conversation.
If we get to a point where she says she hasn't seen Star Wars, I'm leaving.
I've seen Star Wars. I've seen all of
good,
them.
'cause it's
Okay,
my house,
so.
and that would be really awkward.
I mean, mostly for you, but because you'd have to come back eventually. You wouldn't know if we'd still be here.
Yeah.
No, I've seen, mostly what I've seen of Star Trek has been like the old William Shatner stuff. That is the majority of what I've seen of Star Trek, and that's what I grew up on because my mom was like really into the old Star Trek. But I haven't seen any of the newer generations or anything like that. I haven't seen any movies before the most recent Star Trek movie, which is really horrible. But in general, I tend to enjoy the Star Trek franchise more.
Okay.
I get way more into it. I think it's just way more interesting personally. I really like the whole storyline. Every plot arc I've ever seen, I loved it. That being said, I still really, really enjoy Star Wars. Like, I really, well, the
first 3 episodes. Here's the deal.
Yeah.
The first 3 episodes were terrible. Everybody basically agrees. Not necessarily that if they didn't agree that it would suddenly make them not terrible. There's also the aspect of episodes 4, 5, and 6 where they went through and added CG things to it to enhance it. However you feel about that, like, okay, fine. Me personally, like Star Wars, I love Star Wars and I love Star Trek, like both of them. Star Wars, I literally, when I was in high school, I used to have this stupid little VCR with a TV in my room, and I had all of the 4, 5, and 6 on VHS, and it was a special edition one, but it wasn't a special edition with all. It was before that actually happened. But there were interviews before, and in those interviews, they were talking about how they were gonna start in a couple of years, they were gonna start shooting for episodes 1, 2, and 3, and then after that they want to do 7, 8, and 9. And now here we are actually looking at finally they're doing 7, 8, and 9. 1, 2, and 3. They might have done 7, 8, and 9 sooner if 1, 2, and 3 had been better. But they made some really bad decisions about that in terms of, and the writing, I don't know what happened. Like, the 4, 5, and 6 had such great writing, and I used to fall asleep watching 4, 5, and 6. And it's such a good story, and and then they went the direction that most movies are going. It's just like trying to focus more on special effects and action, instead of like the actual performance and the story and the writing and everything. But I am also the person who I've seen every single episode of every single series of every Star Trek, like every single one of them. I've seen them. Thank you, Netflix, for being able to do that. Like, it was a year and a half ago maybe that they released all of Star Trek to Netflix, and I loved it. I went through everything, watched everything, even Enterprise, which there were parts I liked and there were parts I thought were really stupid. I've watched both of the newest movies. I've seen every one of the movies. If I had to choose which one I could only watch for the rest of my life, it would be Star Trek. But Star Wars has a much bigger, like, graphic novel and like actual writing, like written books. Actually, I don't know if it's bigger because Star Trek's pretty big too. My wife reads a lot of those, so I don't know. But either way, I like Star Trek more because the next generation future is why I refer to myself as a Star Trek socialist. that's the future I want to live in. That's the social utopia that I like would love to exist within.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I call myself a Star Trek socialist, because of the Next Generation. So there you go. James, how do you feel about Star Trek, Star Wars?
Well, number one, I think that the main, like, I don't see why anyone ever has to pick people. I don't know. It's a weird argument, I guess. But I think Star Trek is this more idealistic future, and that's why some people are drawn to that. Where Star Wars is, there's the struggle between the Republic and the Rebellion and all that. That's a more warlike future. So I think the reason the argument even starts is because people like this idealist vision of a future that's based on technology that is improbable at best, and the human culture changing in a way that's improbable at best. But that's like but they're both sci-fi. I enjoy them both. I think that Star Wars has a more compelling universe and dynamic, and there's almost a more realistic feel, if there can be, you know. And I mean, Star Wars, there's more consistency, at least in that which has been filmed, you know, because there's less of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the arc of variance in the Star Trek universe with whatever they have, 15, 18 movies they've had, you know, what is it, like 5 or 6 different TV series, however many episodes, hours upon hours upon hours of footage. So there's less consistency, but they're both fun. They're both different. I don't need to pick. I mean,
Yeah.
I own the Star Wars box set. I just own the 2 newest Star Trek movies. I've seen a lot of it, but am I going to go buy all the early movies? No, they're not.
Yeah.
They're.
Well, I know that we
It's
had
campy. It's
my
campy.
my wife's a huge Star Trek fan, like huge. Like the tattoo she got, the first tattoo, the only tattoo she currently has, is of Captain Stripes on her wrist from the Star Trek universe. And so, I mean, like, she's a huge fan. I thought I was a big fan until, like, I realized how much of a huge fan she is. And so we own all of the Star Trek, and we even own the 2 newest, obviously, which she really likes. The
Relaunch.
alternate universe is what they call it, AU, Star Trek AU. Even though the second one was awful, like, it was really bad. I thought it was terrible.
Nope.
You disagree? Well,
I do.
you weren't like,
I saw Wrath of Khan in the theaters.
and you thought that this one was.
I don't think it's fair to compare them.
I think
think
it's
it's fair to compare
fair
them.
to say, hey, writers, why don't you write something original instead of taking the actual story and just doing it? It's okay for you to disagree with me, James.
I'm well aware of that.
I don't want to unleash my sick
I'm
wrath.
trying not to be really super grumpy, but I don't think it was a bad movie. I don't think it was a bad movie.
Is this
at
one
all.
with Benedict Cumberbatch?
Yep.
Yes.
I loved that movie.
Yeah, it was
I'm sorry.
awful.
I thought it was amazing.
No, like Trekkie, I don't even want to call them purists because that is not the way to do it. People that are a big fan of the old series will have this opinion, some of them, because it is taken from an old one,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but completely redone, completely modernized. And the old one is super campy. It's super campy. Like, seriously, go back and watch it again.
Okay, but like a lot of Star Trek is really campy.
Not
Well-
the new re-release stuff.
No, not the re-release stuff. No, but a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know, because like I said, a lot of what my experience has been like the William Shatner stuff, and that is really campy. But I'm also sort of a big fan of camp in general.
Well, it's campy in the sense that, I mean, they were running on a really low budget and things like that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, yes.
and it's William Shatner.
Well, yeah. I mean,
He
but
is
you got to
not a
remember
good
that.
actor.
You got to remember that. I missed that.
Were you trying to
He's
sound like
not a
William
good
Shatner
actor.
there? Because you kind of did.
He's a good actor at acting William Shatner.
That is,
That is.
that's not the way it works. I don't know if you need that anymore.
Not specifically. Ooh, fancy. James got a new computer too.
I did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's what made me want a new computer.
I'm
I needed a new computer, but
So did I.
And I'm too poor for a new computer, so I'm stuck with mine for now.
please send all of your PayPal to Sequoia at, I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway,
But I really want to quick interject since I'm on like a little bit of a rage trip since I'm so not feeling well. You are not a Trekkie if you didn't see anything before the newest re-release, okay? So shut your face. That's all I got.
Oh, I thought that was going to be way worse.
I really reined myself in there.
I think you just ran out of energy.
no, I agree though. I mean, if you're just basically jumping on this Star Trek bandwagon because of the newest movies, then
And call yourself a Trekkie?
yeah.
Like, no. Just because you've watched the new movies a dozen times each.
Who, me?
Anybody.
Oh, anybody. I was like, I haven't watched it a dozen times each. I'm not a big fan of the newer movies. Like the first one was okay.
Need to watch the second one again.
I don't want to. It like I was watching it in theaters and I hated it. Like the whole time I'm like, seriously?
The whole time? See, that's a problem.
No, I didn't
You went in
know.
with a
I didn't
preconceived
know.
notion.
When I went to go see it, I didn't know that it was Khan.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, I'm sorry if you haven't seen. I didn't know it was Khan. Like I had no idea. And when it got to it, I was like I was actually there was a couple of people that we were hoping it was going to be. Me and my wife were talking about. And then when it was like that he was Khan, we were like, wow, seriously? Like that's what you did? That's what you did. You have this huge franchise that you're building, and it's like you had this great first movie that was original, and then you were like, hey, the second movie then when they made it last time was Wrath of Khan, and it's one of the ones that most people who are Trekkies vote as their top favorite one, so let's make the second, alternate universe Wrath of Khan. Sorry, I just kind of... Here, someone else can have the soapbox for a while.
I don't have the energy to get up on it.
He just got back down. He's tired.
What about, like, Star Wars? So, the episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, so I did not see Star Wars for a really, really long time. I didn't see Star Wars until probably like 5 years ago. And I've seen 4, 5, and 6 several times since then. I have only seen 1, 2, and 3 once through. And because I just did not, I was like, this is like 4, 5, and 6, because I watched 4, 5, and 6 first, and then I watched 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, and 6 I thought were so awesome. I really loved them. Like, I loved everything about them. And then I saw 1, 2, and 3, and I was like, I'm not invested. I don't care what happens.
Yeah.
Like, this is not fun. This is not enjoyable. I'm not into this. So, I don't really, like, it's been so long now that I almost don't even remember anything about 1, 2, and 3. To be honest.
I think they were doomed from the start.
Yeah.
A New Hope through Jedi are so well known. So well known. And then you try to, like, however many years later it was, make prequels to it.
Yeah.
Everything's getting judged. Like, under the harshest of microscopes. Even if they would have started with 7, 8, 9, it would have been the same thing.
Yeah.
You can't, it's such a beloved franchise. There was so much time between. So I don't think they're as bad as people want to make them out to be.
You just think that they don't mesh well with the 4, 5, and 6, and that's what makes them bad?
I think as beloved as the first release trilogy is, 4, 5, and 6, as beloved as it is, as watched as it was, like, there was no way it was ever going to get a fair shake. And Jar Jar Binks is annoying, I'll give you that. But, there's annoying people at my work every day. There's annoying people wherever you go. It's not as bad as people want it to be. The second movie was really slow-paced.
Yes.
If it was made out more as a 3-part movie, we probably could have accepted that a little more. Like Lord of the Rings,
Right.
There's some real slow parts in that. But they were released, separately. One thing I don't like, my one complaint about Star Wars and the releases is you can no longer get the original versions of the movies.
Right.
Yeah.
In any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be really neat on a collector's edition to get, because I think it's 3 versions of the movies now that have been released, because it's been updated twice, to be able to get, like, those original cuts. I think that would be,
Yeah.
it'd be awesome. But you can't, and that's my complaint. I don't have a big problem with the movie, the second trilogy that was released. Will I watch them as much as I'd watch the originals? No.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look at like the end of Return of the Jedi, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The very end.
Oh yeah,
when all the Ewoks are dancing around and all the ghosts appear, and it's like, this is silly.
Well,
Super
and they
silly.
added that. They changed that.
Did they?
The character who was the ghost of Luke's father, they changed to what's the guy's name that played Anakin in 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was
they
one of the
changed it.
digital effects, and it's and like you were saying that you can't get those original. That tremendous actor who had that one spot in this amazing show,
Erased forever.
he's gone forever.
Mm-hmm.
His credit is no longer in the even show.
Really?
And it's completely unfair. Like it's like, and it's not like, I mean, life is unfair, but I mean to a certain extent. But, I mean, like that's really stupid. Like why? Like that was dumb.
Yeah.
He didn't die looking like that. He died looking different. That's what he should look like.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's one of those, somebody at some point just thought in their head, hey, let's do it this way. And nobody at some point was like, no, that's like, how is that any respectful in any regard to,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's fine if they want to make that change, but I should be allowed, as a fan of the series, to be able to watch the original without having to find that shit on Laserdisc or VHS. You know what I mean?
Laserdisc.
Like, serious. I'm sure, like, if you searched around, there's probably some places where you can download the original versions, in a digital format. But that's not what I want to do. I want to go and purchase it. I want to be able to buy it. I want to be able to own it and actually have it, Like, I have the entire Blu-ray package, but I don't have, those little... I want to see The Return of the Jedi or The Empire Strikes Back I saw in theaters the year it got released,
Yeah.
Even Star Wars. I fell asleep. I was like, whatever, 7 years old, 6 years old. But, like, I would like to be able to see that, like, original version and not, But that doesn't take away from the storytelling and what the series is,
Yeah. Well, I know I know that there was I know there was a lot of, like, digital effects put in. And I know there was the one plot change with Han shooting second.
Greedo.
Yeah. With them having him shoot second instead of first.
Yes.
Which is, like, the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But were there any other, like, actual plot changes, or was that the only one?
They didn't really.
Scenes.
I mean, they added some scenes that had originally been cut. Like there's a scene with Han and Jabba the Hutt in the A New Hope, outside of the Millennium Falcon, that doesn't exist in the original theatrical release because it wasn't Jabba. Like they had this guy that was kind of like this mob boss looking like guy, and they just edited Jabba over him in the CG.
Gotcha.
Because who Jabba was and that entire persona and everything didn't exist until Return of the Jedi.
Right.
And so that was neat because it was original. Like it was original footage, but they edited in something. That type of stuff, like I wouldn't have a problem with.
Right.
Like that I thought was okay. But the like added scenes just for like a laugh or something, or just, adding a digital effect, I don't know. Even the stuff in the background, like that, it just seemed not. I don't know. It didn't seem right to the series to add those things into the background like that.
I don't mind them tightening up the digital effects. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Adding stuff and like permanently changing it without allowing access to the original is a different thing. But when you make it so the space fights aren't like
well, right. That's different. That's like a digital enhancement versus like actually adding a character into the background. That's completely different. I agree with you. Making it, getting it converted up to like a 1080p and a smoother visual and enhancing the audio. Those things are great. Those things should happen. Adding characters into the background for laughs or because you didn't like the way the animatronic moved or something, so we're going to cover over this animatronic with a CG, that I think is disingenuous to the series. But,
Nobody asked us.
Yeah, exactly.
Bastards.
I mean, the first three, they could have done better, though. I mean, you said that they were kind of going up against this wall of what 4, 5, and 6 was, but they could have done way better.
Could they?
I think so. I mean, the writing is just, it's poor. It's hackneyed. It's like goes to the old jokes. There's no development of something.
But the original ones didn't go to the old jokes? Like there's not...
You're talking about like in 5 or 6 making a joke about something in 4?
No, I mean in all of them. They're all just like, there's no great jokes in any of them. They're all like predictable and placed exactly where you'd think they'd be, and jokes that have been used a million times before. The same, they weren't comedies. You know what I mean?
Right. They were supposed to be like operas, space operas, basically, is what they were technically billed as, like a sci-fi drama almost.
Well, they're more structured like a typical fantasy story, like a Lord of the Rings, than they are like a typical sci-fi story.
Yeah.
But see, Lord of the Rings is a good example, because Lord of the Rings was great. I mean, there is an aspect to it in which it's very long to watch 9 hours of it. If you've ever tried that, oh my gosh, like take a computer, definitely have internet, because you need something else to do.
I did I didn't do it all in one day, but I did it over like a series of like a couple of days, the director's cut of all 3.
Yeah. It's long. But they're doing Hobbit now, and Hobbit is great. And they're not running up. Maybe it's because that it's not the same amount of time. There isn't that same amount of fan base you're talking about.
Yeah, and the gap is very little in comparison. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean,
And
we're
it's
talking
pretty much the exact same people doing it.
Yes.
But it's also coming off a known story as well. Like, Lord of the Rings was incredibly well known before the movies ever hit. Like, I grew up with Lord of the Rings. Like, Lord of the Rings was something that was, like, huge in my childhood. And a lot of people in my generation, Lord of the Rings was huge in their childhood, the books. And, like, it already had a huge fan base before, it ever went to the movies. Star Wars, not so much.
Well, Star Wars didn't... Are you talking about the first episode?
I'm talking about the books.
1, 2, and 3?
Like the books from Lord of the Rings.
4? Oh, Lord, right.
Well,
right.
Lord of the Rings is a very select set of books, even adding in The Hobbit. And for, like, true fans of Star Wars, there were tons of books.
Mm-hmm.
But
after the fact, Star Wars didn't exist before the movies.
Right.
The
But
movies
before episodes 1 through 3 came out, this whole world of books is out there.
There's an
And
entire...
anyone who wanted to know knows what happens in episodes 1 through 3 before it comes out, which is another hindrance.
Yeah.
Oh, why'd they leave that out? Why didn't they do this? People wanted to hate it.
Yeah.
People wanted to hate it. I mean...
So you think that if it had somehow come out independently in some other universe, let's say Lucas had an opportunity to make all 9 films originally instead of... I mean, originally from interviews, his original draft of the movie was all 9, but it was just too long.
Yeah.
And so he pulled out 4, 5, and 6 because those were his favorite parts. And that's what he made. He originally made 4, and then they said, would you like to make 5 and 6, basically.
Yeah, I think that if they were made in tighter together, or if they were made as a separate trilogy, I think they could have done well, although I think they still would have suffered on the second one.
Yeah.
Because, like, the first one had a lot of action and fun stuff going on and good effects, and the third one did as well. The second one kind of really lulled out.
See, my problem with the original series is that you were saying you don't care, you don't feel that desire or care about the characters. Like Anakin, his going from how they make him Darth Vader is just awful. Like they did a terrible job of it. It's like he's
Spoiler alert.
See, the problem is that from the moment that first movie starts, pretty much everybody watching the movie knows that this little adorable kid is going to become Darth Vader.
Right, but
so you don't get to see it as a good story.
Well, no. I mean, like he goes from I'm really pissed off to I'm killing children, like in the matter of hours, and it's like, how in the world? What kind of a crazy person goes from okay, one of my masters is doing something to now I need to kill children?
I think you need to watch them again. I know you won't, but I think you need to watch them again. Because it doesn't just happen like that. There's signs of it all through the second, and it doesn't start to the third.
Right, but there isn't any point where he's killing people that would be innocent until, like, he just snaps and now he's killing innocent people.
Well, he kills everybody at once. Anyways, I just think I don't know. Like, you can't judge his progression because you know what's going to happen. If you could somehow erase what you know and watch those movies from scratch, his journey would be drastically different, but you know it right from the moment. And that's a hard thing to execute. You know what I mean?
I suppose.
That this young
maybe if
kid is going to become the most epic villain I've ever seen on TV, on a screen ever. Because who beats out Vader?
Voldemort.
Maybe. Maybe. Maybe if you were 13 when it came out. You know?
I think she might have been.
It's possible.
When Harry Potter came out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was around that age when it started coming out.
Yeah. No, Vader beats Voldemort. Vader would make Voldemort shit himself. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, probably. Umbridge.
What?
Umbridge is actually, I think, way more evil than Voldemort, but that's a whole
Maybe.
nother fandom. We won't go into that.
But anyways, even if you don't agree that he is the, like, pinnacle of, like, movie villain, he's in the running. You know, he's going to make your list.
But
he's
I mean,
list.
they could have done a better writing of it. They could have gotten a good actor to do it, and it could have been better. And the acting, I think, is awful. I don't even know the actor's name who plays Anakin, not the kid, but the young adult.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
It's like Han something or
You but it's
something.
Hans Christian Andersen.
It's not.
Yeah, nice. I don't know. You might be right. I mean, it might have to do with my expectation of what he is growing towards. But I don't see it. I mean, I don't see that.
The deck was stacked against those movies.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
You're probably.
Now,
I mean, you're probably right.
What if they went back after 7, 8, and 9? Let's say we'll give it Hollywood time. What is it? 5 years before they want to start remaking stuff.
Maybe it depends on what it is.
To remake 1, 2, and 3.
No, I'm just saying.
I see what you're
I'm
saying.
making a joke about how fat. Like, what's coming out this summer? Is it this summer with the big gigantic lizard? Godzilla. There's been in the last 10, 15 years like 4 Godzillas.
Yeah.
Godzilla and King Kong just get remade. They're like Frankenstein and Dracula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
But same. So let's say 10, 15 years from now, if George Lucas is still around or whoever owns his estate at that point, it's like, hey, you know, let's remake 1 through 9, but let's do it 1 through 9. Let's keep consistency. Let's get the same actors, you know, through the whole thing. We're gonna do 9 movies, you know, because whatever they decide. Do you think that then it would be better?
That's impossible to say.
No, I need an answer actually right now.
In that case, yes.
Thank you. All right.
But only if they get the people that made that shit Twilight, and then it'll be awesome, and all the little girls will like it.
Well, see, the deck was stacked against Twilight.
Yeah, because it was made from an awful book.
It was horrible to begin with.
Not that I've ever read the book.
There's not actually a main character in Twilight. Like, I just want everybody to realize that. Like, whatever the girl's name, Bella, whatever, she's not actually a character in the book. She's just a stand-in.
Spoilers if she's not really a character.
No, that's good. Give all the spoilers. Maybe
No.
people will be like, I'm not going to
She
read the book now.
She is a character in the book, okay? But what I'm saying is that she is written as a blank slate so that all these young girls who read it can insert themselves into her character. Like, she doesn't actually have any personality at all.
Nice.
I hate
Have you?
Twilight.
But you have read the books.
Yes.
5 times.
No, an ex...
I had to do them for a class assignment.
No,
I'm sorry.
an ex made me read them, and that should have been the first sign.
What was her name?
Oh, no, you do not get... That's not cool. It was a man that made me read those.
Never actually heard that before.
That a
It
man...
was a man that made me read Twilight. I'm just saying. That doesn't happen often. Search the internets. I'm just saying. It's going to be rare. It's going to be rare. Not a lot of women make you watch The Unforgiven.
All right, so last question, then we'll wrap up. All right, all the ships from the Star Wars universe are against all the ships from the Star Trek universe. Who wins that space battle?
I mean...
Star Wars.
Is the Death Star included in that?
Yep.
Every single ship, sure.
There's 2 of them.
There's 2, yeah, the big one and the
then
half-built
I
one.
think Star Wars would take it.
No one wins in a war, Justin. No one.
And James wins. James wins the intranets.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's impossible to say because the galaxies are so expansive. They're always finding new people in Star Trek.
Yeah.
I'm presuming that Star Wars is similar. You know?
Well, it's a galaxy far, far away and a long time ago, so
It's true.
they're separated by time and space.
It's true.
Yeah. But the Doctor could open up a pathway.
The Doctor always wins. No matter what. My friend is moving out here, and she is equally obsessed with Doctor Who, and she was saying that if we get an apartment with 2 bathrooms, she wants to get a decal of Rose on one and a decal of David Tennant in the other.
Rose and Tennant.
Yeah, like pressing up against the wall.
Rose and Tennant.
Yeah.
You don't like Eccleston and we keep saying Rose like that's the actor's
Billy
name.
Piper. No, she wants
Billy
to like
Piper.
the scene, like when they get separated by the wall.
We have gone off topic.
I know.
A little bit.
But,
Sorry.
I think Doctor Who ties in. It's space related.
I think
Gandalf
Star Wars.
whooped the
I think
Doctor's
Star Wars
ass.
would win too. And even though Star Trek has the Borg,
Is Gandalf the one that wins?
But Star Wars has magic with the Force.
yes, Star Wars
Yes.
has the Force. If you look at, I actually have a size comparison. I'm pointing over here. There's my computer. I have a size comparison chart for like every single sci-fi ship you could ever.
I think we
of.
looked at that the one
Yes.
time, and the Death Star was like huge compared to everything, right?
Well, the Death
Or was it the
no,
Enterprise?
the Death Star isn't even on there because it's a planet basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there are
Is that a
some
moon?
huge battle cruisers that are gigantic, like really big. Like the newest Star Trek ship, which is really big, the Enterprise that's on there that's really big, is tiny compared to it. Like it would be this big, and this thing is huge. Like it's, I don't even know. Somebody give me a thesaurus.
I wonder how big the ship from Galaxy Quest would be compared to all that.
Galaxy Quest for the win. By the way.
Yeah. All right. On that note, I think it's time to wrap up. Thank you for joining us. We will see you all next week
If I make it.
if James is not dead. So
In which case, you'll see us next week.
we'll see us next week. The show will go on.
And if they're still broadcasting from here, call the
Somebody
police.
call the police. All right. We will see you all next week. Thank you for joining us. Please like and share the video. Alex and the Anders to take you out. Bye-bye.
Bye.